We have just had a short movie and a documentary called And Life Goes On Outside, and we are now with the director, Daniel Maurer. First of all, are you happy to be in Romford?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here because I was hesitating on the trip to come here from Switzerland, but it's always good to come to London with friend yesterday, and I'm happy to be here. Yeah, and I'm happy that the crowd is not so big, but I'm very happy to have a few viewers.
So the first thing I want to really get into is that this was pretty much a bit of a labour of love. You've been making this for about 9, 10 years. You've gone really far back. What made you really want to tackle this situation?
Why I wanted to make this?
Yeah, why you started the documentary and document this?
Yeah, but it started in 2011 actually, when the direction of this new hospital, the team, they started to find the architecture for the hospital. They made a contest, and so I began to film then this project because I knew they will close 5, 6 small hospitals and they will build this new hospital. So that was the initial point actually, and I started to film during 4, 5 years this administration work and filming the beginning of the construction also. And I thought I'm not doing really an interesting film because it was just people talking and people discussing about health, politics, etc., which is interesting too. But then I began to film health workers as Eric and Frederic, and I just stayed there 1, 2, 3 days at their service and filmed what I could film. I had a lot of time where I couldn't film because the patients were not okay with it. And that's where I discovered a reality that I thought I knew, but I discovered also a raw reality that I didn't knew, and I saw what it means really to work in hospital.
It is a very, very personal tale with both patients and healthcare workers and everything, but what was it about their stories, Eric and Frederick, that you really wanted to tell their stories about?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to film them in their work so that I have 2 people that I can also film during when they are moving the hospital, etc. And I mean the stories, their story, personal story somehow came during the film, because if you're filming during 2 years or 3 years somebody, you begin to know him. And especially with Frederic, who had his story with her brother, who died very by surprise. He was young, and this story came in parallel on the filming, and now it takes place. Even if I didn't ask her to tell her the story, it came out somehow, and that was also a work of being honest with them and saying, okay, I just film you, because they were afraid first to be filmed, because you're filming an error, etc. They thought, I will be criticized, because they are very now everything you open something wrongly and more and more I filmed, so they get confident, and that's also how I could film scenes like that, which is not easy to film in such a context, because hospital, they don't like you to have the camera on the work, actually.
Well, that was going to be sort of the next question. It's a bit of a 3-part. So obviously you're filming over all this time, and it's very much in people's faces and operations going on. What was the trickiest thing for you to get on the screen and to put across screen? What was the most rewarding thing? And what was your biggest takeaway from making this documentary?
Well, I think the most difficult or changing thing for myself during this shooting was right from the beginning. I was shooting with Frederick when she's going with the ambulance on site, and right on the first day there was no ambulance. I was just waiting one day, nothing happened. You have to be patient as a fishing man. But then on the second day, I also thought that nothing happened, again eating, and then he has the beaker and we go on this place, and that's where I filmed this scene where this woman dies. And I was filming directly someone who dies. And at that day, I went home to my wife. I told her, today I did something I never have done. It was a kind of strange moment. I mean, it was a kind of holy moment you're filming. And this was the impression I had. And I said, I think something, it will be in the film. I think, it's so strong what happens, even if you don't see something very dramatic at the image, but it's people filming, people who live something strong. You catch it with the camera, and that's what happened this day. And this was a turning point somehow also, where I realized I will film some very intense emotional moments at this place, which is called the hospital.
And what would you say that's your biggest takeaway from the movie, from the documentary making? It's something being done.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing is also to see. I discovered more and more the difference between the administration people in a hospital and the people who is doing the handwork, the everyday work. And at the beginning, everything sounded very cool because the direction said, we're gonna talk with them, we're gonna see that we communicate also with the health workers, and everything is all going all right in this hospital. And then you see these two worlds are too different, even in a country like Switzerland, where we try to be very democratic and everybody can give his opinion. But you see, it's such a difference between this organic work and this synthetic way we try to treat our health system, and it's also expressed. The hospital is very straight and clean, and you have this contrast because it's something very a big contrast between that and the organic and very human things that happen in these walls.
And you've been to your festivals, you've had many screenings. How are people reacting to the documentary, both in your home country and worldwide?
Well, actually, in the projections I had in Switzerland, there was one. The first projections were not very long time after the opening of the hospital, and they had this financial problem, so everybody discussed that in the region where I'm coming from. So there were some discussions about the political aspects, but most of the time I see that the people are going with Frederick and Eric, and you live their work, and that's also for me a big pleasure to see that people discover somehow also what they are doing. And I think it's an homage also to all health workers, and it's an homage also to my mother, who was a nurse back in the time.
So we'll open up to some audience questions. Do we have anybody?
I have a quick question first. You said you were making this film for like 10 years. How did you stay motivated over that long amount of time? Stay focused. There must have been times where your focus or your motivation was lost. Was there any moments like that?
Yeah, actually at the beginning I was motivated a little bit because I got paid. No, it's also a money thing. You have to, it's my profession to make films, and you have to find the financing of the film. And actually got paid, but very few during the first years, but it was okay for me just to film that because we made an association. We founded the association because we knew to film that during 10 years, it won't be possible if we don't have a fund and a structure to film all this during all this time. So this association, with some people from the hospital, we found money to make the film. And well, I got motivated. Actually, I was not so motivated after, as I told you before, 3-4 years, because I thought, what I'm filming here, it's not interesting. So, but then when I filmed with the first shootings with Frederick and Eric, that was really I was getting motivated because I knew I will have stuff, I will have material for making a film that can go to a cinema and that can catch an audience. That's what I thought, and then at the cutting room you get, okay, I think it's working. You don't know where you are actually till you make projection, and then you realize, okay, it's working more or less. Some people said, oh, I'm not getting too annoyed after 40 minutes. That is okay. And when there's people that don't like, also, my wife, she doesn't like it. Doesn't like it. Yes, it's too emotional. She gets it. It's not the kind of. She likes it, but it's not her kind of film.
Anyone else?
Hi, thank you for submitting a really moving documentary. I wonder if you could answer a question regarding the music. Was it laid on completely after the finished cut, or did it happen piece by piece?
Yeah, that was a special collaboration with a friend of mine who is the composer of that music. He's really, he's not a film music composer. He makes electronic music and he's a pianist. And, but he has made some music for other films before, a few. And I worked, it was a special collaboration because like 1.5 years before finishing the film, I told him, can you make some first music, some scores, 2 or 3 that are going with the film. So he composed one of the themes, which is when the helicopter goes off, etc. This music, and I thought, oh, that's the mood I'm looking for. So it was interesting because I could make some first tryouts with this music also before I began to cut, and it gave me an idea also what I had to make as image that it works with this mood. So it was not a work really finishing the edit and then say, okay, now I need to fill the holes with music. It was rather that he made some music before, then we edited with Felix, the editor, and while editing we realized, okay, this one we have to modify or simplify the music, or here something we need something more, so we made one or two scores after finishing the edit. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's really important what you just said there, because you've actually said to a point you've cut and set the pace in and feel of the documentary according to the inspiration of the music that you had. I think that's a fantastic answer. Thank you.
Got one more? No? Well, from everyone at the festival, I just want to say thank you so much for submitting to us. Thank you for letting us show on the screen there today. And thanks for doing it. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having me.